Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. This is going to be my Gotham episode 5 video. Lot of comic book things happening. So we have the Court of Owls floating in the background. Now we have the Order of Saint Dumas, it was kind of where Azrael comes from. He hasn't come on the show yet. They've actually cast an actor to do that though. And we get to see Firefly for the first time. Just careful for spoilers if you haven't seen the episode yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through, top 5 WTF moments. I'll explain the new characters and the storylines that they're introducing. Starting with number 5, the police task force goes on the Warpath. So this whole introduction scene with the dudes in their underpants might have seemed a little weird. They're basically doing Tim Burton's Batman. The music that they use, the architecture, the way they frame the scene, it's much more indicative of the style of Tim Burton's Batman films. If you watch the Christopher Nolan Batman films, all that was filmed in Chicago, so it looks a little bit more normal. So the reality of Gotham is just heightened to a comic book level in a way that a lot of other TV shows aren't. But this whole raid on the Penguin kind of leads into this theme of friends being very, very important. Like the less you have, the more important the ones you do have become. Penguin, of course, always quick to grovel. Like Penguin versus Theo, this is going to be an interesting fight this year. Wouldn't it be great if Penguin is the one to ultimately take Theo down? Like you want Gordon to do it because he's one of the protagonists of the show, but this is Gotham. It's all about the rise of the villains, and you have good villains and you have bad villains. The Penguin, even though he's a big bad of Gotham, isn't going to be the biggest antagonist this season. That's Theo's character. It's just like Captain Cold on The Flash. Captain Cold, big villain, but he's going to be an anti-hero during Legends of Tomorrow. On to number 4 though, Gordon versus Date Night. This reaction face, probably my favorite reaction face that he's ever done on the show. I'm gonna get a lot of mileage out of this. I love the idea of Riddler and Miss Kringle together doing crazy things, but in this scene they're really just being like a disgustingly happy couple. I felt like there was a lot of comedy to be had in Miss Kringle asking the Riddler to go on couples dates. So that, so there's like more witnesses around. We should be hanging around other people, just in case you get a little too crazy. She might be aware that he is going a little bit nuts. I think she just senses that he has really weird energy about him, and it's like slowly growing on her. He's like a virus or a fungus. He just slowly grows on you. On to number 3 though, Theo versus Gordon. So Theo's trying to get Gordon's public endorsement because he's president of the policemen's union. Like Theo just wants to legitimize himself in the eyes of Gotham. It takes the entire episode to get there, but the really interesting thing that's going on is that Gordon has totally drunk the Kool-Aid. So at some point, maybe mid-season finale, just like expect the rug to get pulled out from under Gordon. Like, oh my god, I made a deal with the devil. The interesting thing is in their final scene here at the end of the episode, Theo is standing in front of this gargoyle symbol up on the wall. It combines a lot of imagery about the history of Gotham, just like the Wayne family name all over everything and the Dumas family, as well as just looking really sinister. Like Theo is the devil. So Gordon here is kind of selling his soul just a little bit. On to number 2, meet Firefly, brand new comic book villain on Gotham. Firefly in the comics is a completely different character. There's actually 2 male versions of Firefly, but all the tech, like all the gear is still the same, so that's fairly true to the comics, with the exception of the jetpack. When Firefly has appeared in the comics and in the cartoons, he has a jetpack that allows him to fly. But for the most part, like the fire gear, like the weaponry is all the same as it is in the comics. There isn't like a whole lot of wire work on Gotham yet. I mean, just because, Batman isn't like jumping from rooftop to rooftop, but I would expect the show to do that at some point too. Especially now that we have the Order of Saint Dumas, who are supposed to be just like a big group of badasses. I would say if there's an area where Gotham has been kind of lacking, it's in its fight scenes. Like Arrow is a good example of a TV show, with people that don't have superpowers, but there's a lot of really badass fight scenes. I feel like once the Order of Saint Dumas gets into Gotham, we'll start seeing a lot more badass fight scenes. I don't totally mind them changing the Firefly character from the comics. Like, it's totally okay to give the persona to a new character, but you can kind of see that they're trying to set this actress up to come back. Like, they gave her this big emotional arc in the episode, showing how her brothers, or her adopted brothers, however you want to think about it, were treating her like shit, so she's kind of a sympathetic villain now. Catwoman takes her under her paw. So just expect this actress to come back. Like, they don't give an actress this much story if they don't intend her to use her again. So everybody give Firefly a high five. I'm sure she's going to be a lot of fun on the show. She's just another villain like the Penguin, somewhat sympathetic, but still doing evil things, still a little bit nutters. And speaking of nutters, one of my favorite parts in the episode though, is part of this Firefly arc, was when the idiot stuck the C4 down his pants and ran. That was the minute you knew something was going to happen to him. Like, I'm going to stick this brick of C4 that could blow up a small building right in front of my junk, so that when the cops shoot me, I'll just go splat all over everything. There was actually quite a bit of comedy violence in this episode. People getting their dicks blown off, getting their eyes gouged out, getting their hands chopped off. You guys let me know, how do you feel about violence? Say like Game of Thrones level violence when it's done for comedy like Gotham did it this week. That's when I feel like an episode has done a really good job. Like that's comedy done well. When you feel bad about laughing, like ooh, I shouldn't have laughed then. But finally, onto my number one WTF moment, the history of Gotham explained. So this is actually really cool because it's a show deepening its mythology using the comics. And most of this is true, like flows from Court of Owls type stuff. Now this week's episode only lightly invoked the Court of Owls. It was mostly about the origins of the Order of Saint Dumas. So the first half of the season isn't necessarily culminating to a Court of Owls storyline, it's culminating towards an Azrael storyline, the Order of Saint Dumas, this big invasion that they've been teasing. They're kind of like a religious order version of the League of Assassins. But there are a couple historical Waynes that are mentioned in the episode. The one that's typically credited with building a lot of the biggest structures in Gotham is Solomon Wayne. He was a judge, one of the early founders of the Great House Wayne. But the earliest Wayne to live in Gotham was named Nathaniel Wayne, and he was like an immigrant that lived in Gotham when it was just a colony. If you want to read a lot about the history of the Wayne family, and you've already read the Court of Owls storyline, then read Batman after Final Crisis. He gets sent back in time by Darkseid's Omega beams, it just keeps jumping forward, so you keep seeing Waynes throughout history. But now we know Theo's family are the Dumas, and they're on this holy crusade to redeem Gotham, right the wrong that was done to their family. Now just to explain Azrael, he is coming on the show, they've cast the actor who plays him, but he's going to be comparable to Bruce Wayne's age, so he won't be Azrael yet. I'm not expecting to see the Suit of Sorrows, but we might see some references and stuff like that. That's just like some special armor that the Order of Saint Dumas constructed. It has some mystical properties derived from the blood debt of a bunch of crusaders, but it usually drives the wearer mad. So just because Gotham hasn't gotten into magic or mysticism, at least like the way Arrow has, I'm not expecting to see any kind of magical artifacts. You guys let me know though, like what was your big WTF moment from the episode? Was it the dude getting his dick blown off? Was it Butch getting his hand chopped off? Or is it the tease of the Order of Saint Dumas riding in on Gotham just to beat the shit out of everybody? The whole episode was great though. I feel like they're laying a lot of seeds that will definitely pay off later down the road. Hopefully Firefly's character won't fall through the cracks. A lot of times shows that have big casts can lose people in the mix. Like by the time you get to the end of the season, it's like, oh, we meant to do something with this character, but we couldn't find a place for them again. And speaking of finding people again, didn't you think it was funny how Catwoman was like, Fish Mooney could totally come back? I feel like that's the voice of the fandom, the people that liked Fish Mooney. I was not one of those people, I wasn't a huge fan of her character, but she could totally come back in some way if Jada Pinkett Smith wanted to come back. But what's going to happen next is since it's Sunday, I'm going to be doing Game of Thrones and Walking Dead just like normal. Hopefully both of those videos will post on time. I'm still in the middle of moving. Like I'm still recording videos at my old apartment while I'm moving into my new apartment. So just be sure to follow me on Facebook and Twitter to find out when videos are coming. It's going to be another week or two before I'm finished moving. And I'll totally do a room tour video when it's all done. But while you wait for all the videos tonight, you can click here for all my Flash and Arrow videos, and you can click here to watch the Jessica Jones trailer again if you haven't seen that yet. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let's high five. I'll see you guys tonight.